truck. But let's talk about the new location. Let's talk about the new truck. Because I remember this all going back. Nobody can make that pasta like you. How do you make it perfectly? How many minutes? Tell us.
Oh my
What is
God.
the secret that Tony made his pasta?
I think we're talking the ziti, right?
The ziti. Nobody's giving that.
That pot of salt, that pot that I used to put the water in.
Okay, Mr. Pot.
That was for 300 people, for Christ's sake. You just had to use your imagination to make sure that it was al dente. And that's what I know. You know what the secret was? A lot of places that cater pre-cook the macaroni. I never did that. I never did it in any of my establishments. I put the water on. Once that water was boiling and I threw the ziti in, within 20 minutes you were eating al dente,
And it was
fresh
perfect.
ziti.
Are you teaching anybody?
No.
You're not going to live forever, Tony.
Well,
Somebody got to carry on.
When I go, she's got all the
Okay.
papers.
It's like the soup Nazi on
case she
Seinfeld.
wants-
Val's going to have all the recipes.
Yeah, in case you want to retire and just stay here. And
Hey, this Father Orsini did a book on cooking. We might
that's
have.
right.
And we
that's
have
right.
it.
And I have it.
We
I
have
bought it
it.
all. Yes.
What about the Tony Maita book?
Oh my God. I wish with all my ventures from when I was 20 years old to now that I wrote down all the things that
That may
happened
have
to
to
me.
be a little R-rated
My
or a
God.
little
Well,
high.
no,
or
those
something.
It would be.
Your son, one of your sons.
One of my sons is Gary Maita, the dentist, and I have an engineer, Micky Maita.
Who asked you about the cookbook?
Oh, my son, Micky Maita, said to me, Dad, have you got he sent me a book and said, Dad, if you have a few minutes, write a few menus that you've done in your lifetime. I'm up to menu 65.
Do you have the book with you today?
Yes.
Can I see it?
Sure. And you could read some of the menus. I have my mother's Italian sauce that nobody in the world makes it like her.
Oh, it's in the truck, huh?
Yeah, I'll get it. A lot of action here. And what's good about this, that's better than any of the other hot dog places, my customers could stop and get 5 hot dogs in 3 seconds. Where on Broadway and places that there's hot dogs, you can't get a parking space. So I'm very fortunate. The elderly people, I make them come right in here and park, enjoy their hot dog.
Now, who would you consider elderly?
Well, I have some people my age. And here's, when he sent this to me, he said, Dad, when you ever have a spare time, write down some of your recipes, 1 page for each recipe. And here they are.
And some of them have to spill out onto more than 1 page, I guess,
yes,
right?
of course. I got
I was reading some of these one day.
shrimp scampi.
Your meatloaf surprised me, that your filler for your meatloaf.
Yes. Which one is that?
What do you put in your meatloaf?
Oh, you gotta start with some fresh meat, and I get that meat from Synergies. They have the best meat in the city. And, I just wanted to show you that one.
Well, what I was talking about is the barley.
Tony made his meatloaf. Ground beef and pork.
Oh, I'm sorry, rolled oats.
Rolled oats, a cup of regular. Yes, see, I'm giving you secrets. They'll know what I'm doing here.
Okay. No, we won't.
Here.
I won't show that part.
My mother, your grandmother's Sunday gravy. Now listen to what went into this. The ingredients: 2 pounds of meaty pork neck bones or pork spare ribs, 1 pound of veal stew meat, 1 pound of Italian fennel pork, sausage and garlic, Are you crazy? The best Italian restaurant in this city don't make sauce like this no more. They just open up cans, season it with a little oregano, and that's it. But look what my mother did with all my beautiful brothers and sisters. You had to eat 10 pounds of spaghetti. Every Sunday she would make it, and all this stuff was in there.
What kind of tomatoes?
Plum tomatoes. My mother used to buy, well, my father used to buy cases of, 2 or 3 cases of the plum tomatoes, put it through a grinder machine, and that's how they started up. Okay. Today, it starts off that way, but it's in a can.
Yeah.
But it was very cheap to do it by buying cases of tomatoes. Say this is my original wagon, and I had it at the Mackenzie Post, and this is 28 years old. And when my truck burned down, I went right back. I had that all this time here, and I went back to my original. Of course, in the winter.
But every morning you come in here before you open up.
I got to prepare my food.
How long does that take before you open?
About 2 hours, and then I'm outside. So I get the onions, fresh onions. I peel them, and I chop them. And what I do is that a soubrette onion, they have machines that they go through the same side, the thin ones. It's a good onion. But the idea is to, when 1 million people ask me, do you make your own chili or do you make your own onions? And I season my own sauerkraut. And I tell them yes. The reason why I do it, you see how thick? I keep them chunky. So when I say these aren't soubrette onions, you gotta know it because these are chunks.
So what goes in them?
All right. So once I cut them into the chunks, I put them into a pot, and I throw a little olive oil in it with a little butter and some water, and I put a cover on them and steam them. And then once I steam them, I throw tomatoes, oregano, garlic powder, onion powder, and I just season it to my taste. So it's a nice sweet taste with the oregano and everything. And that's homemade onions, and I've been doing this since the Mackenzie Post.
I was talking with Tony about Ocean Eddie the other day. Did you know him, Chuck?
I know Ocean Eddie. Yeah, he's right as a legend. He's been around forever.
He's a legend.
And he had a place. Some of the biggest politicians in the state used to go to Ocean Eddie. Any given afternoon, you might see the chief of police, the mayor, senators, they would stop and he had great food also. And it was a political hangout for some of the biggest politicians in the state of New Jersey. And he's a terrific guy, Ocean Eddie. He's a legend.
1959, I was redoing my first tavern on the boulevard. At that time it was Lee Brass Rail, formerly Hillman and Roundtree's, at one time one of the finest taverns in the state of New Jersey. And while I was washing the walls with my dad, in walked this young fellow, I guess in his early 30s. He was well dressed, and he sat at the end of the bar, and I served him a drink, and we got to talking, and he says, "Gee, I heard that you're doing very well." And I said, "Well, this is my second or third month in business." And I said, "I heard you bought a tavern on the boulevard, off the boulevard near Ford Motor Company." That was 7-Eleven. That was August of 1959. That's 51 years ago. And his name was Tony Maita. From then on in, we became very close friends. I attended his weddings. We've gone out socially many times. Until today, he's still working, selling hot dogs, tending bar, and here I am still working several days a week, and we do get together, not as often as we used to because he don't drink and I don't drink as much as I used to, and he is one friend of mine, and everybody knows Tony Maita. You can go from Bergen Point and Bayonne to the Holland Tunnel, east and west, they know Tony Maita. He's been very generous to charities. He's been very generous to customers. And if ever a cook was needed for benefits, Tony was there, whether it had been for Assumption Church or for VFW or Mackenzie Post, Tony Maita was there.
Let me ask you something. Now, he's had a few restaurants over the time, and you frequented them.
Yes, he also had a restaurant on 21st Street. Used to be Millwood's Tavern. I'm going back 50 or 60 years ago. He did very well there. And he had a tavern and restaurant in Union City. When he came back to Bayonne, he had a nightclub on 17th Street, or lower. He did very well there. And as the years went by, he became well known. But prior to that, his father had one of the best taverns in Bayonne. On Avenue C, was known for its pizza pies, and Tony helped out his dad.
You thinking of Dominic's?
Dominic's. And Tony went on his own, and he did very well.
When you went to Tony's restaurant to eat, what kind of dish would you like?
Big dishes. He served big dishes. And if you finish the one dish, he'll give you the other dish for nothing. And on Saturday, when he gave free lunch, the customers took advantage of him many times, and he knew about it. And he told the bartender, just keep on serving him until he can't eat anymore. This one incident, he says to the anybody can finish 3 dishes of spaghetti and meatballs, gets a half a gallon of VO. He gave you large platters. He was well known for being generous in his portions, and he's a very good cook. Today, he tended bar at the Mackenzie Post. The place was crowded every night when he was behind the bar. He was selling hot dogs outside, sitting there talking with the people passing by in Bayonne on Avenue E. And today he's still doing it on Broadway. 2 weeks ago I was in the hospital, and he found out that I was upstairs and he was downstairs in the hospital. And I'll never forget, his wife said to him, Tony, today's Thursday. You're not going out Saturday selling hot dogs, are you? And he says, Valerie, he says, you're not keeping me home. I got to be out there. So, sure as hell, Tony went out selling hot dogs 2 days after he came out of the hospital.